Hi and welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus and today I'm doing a solo playthrough of Island Siege 2nd edition again. Why am I saying again? Because I already recorded it and then something went terribly wrong. So everything was pretty much gone for good. Here I am again playing Island Siege again. And in the meantime, I was able to get my new tablecloth here. It's a little bit darker than I anticipated. It's a gray color, really, when you look at it from here. It's gray. Here it may seem a little bit darkish, but so far I like it. And to everyone out there who voted on my little survey on YouTube, I really thank you so much for all your engagement. Really was really cool to see all these votes, and in the end, yeah, basically gray or a neutral color, more or less, succeeded. And yeah, here I am playing Island Siege on my new tablecloth. In the solo game, we are playing against the so-called Ghost Captain. He comes two-sided. Here's a more of an active side. On the other side, it's black and gray, or black and white-ish or grayish colors, kind of things, which is in a more passive step, which is something that we can actively trigger. The Ghost Captain has 8 cards at their disposal. Typically, they're going to play those cards from left to right. There are some occasions in the game where the AI, quote-unquote, is behaving a little bit differently than that, and I will try to play things right, because that's the one piece that sometimes, for me at least, was a bit unclear. Apart from that, they have the same starting setup like any other player. So we have 9 of those, I think, colonists. We have some of those stones, a white and a black one. Here they have their ship. We are not starting with any victory points, but I come to that in a second. We both start the game with a starting fort, makes sense, right? And this starting fort is also fully equipped like in the normal mode of the game. I'm not playing with any of those 5 expansions, but okay, I'm lying here already. I believe the Ghost Captain is already one of the expansions, but apart from that, I'm not using the extra material, I'm not using the captains, and I think there are still some extra boards we might be able to use. I asked that on the Geek if it is possible to simply use the expansion components in the solo rules, because they don't tell you what to use and what not to use. And the answer was kind of, yeah, why not? Let's try it. So that's why I said, let's do a standard playthrough first. I have not really played this game other than my first, let's call it, training session. So maybe it was a good thing that I actually lost all the footage. But yeah, let's see about that. At least I have some clue about what the cards are in there. Apart from that, I've never played this game in multiplayer before. I truly believe it's the better game after reading the rules, but I'm really curious. Maybe it's really a ton of fun. And actually, the first time I played this on camera, it was really fun, actually. I was really doing well. That's the one piece that really bugs me. But yeah, I have to live with that. These are our starting components, pretty much the same thing like with the Ghost Captain. I'm only playing or starting with those 3 cards, and out of those 3 I still have to give 1 card to the Ghost Captain. Well, that's really kind of a bummer, but that's a typical thing, or kind of similar to the multiplayer game where you also do a very draft light. And wow, okay, I have to make a call. Here we have a ship, which is pretty helpful. The Armory is also cool because this is something I can play relatively soon. Here we have another fort, remote rampart. When destroyed, the attack. Okay, that's maybe not great. So I guess I'm handing over this extra fort to the Ghost player, and we will simply put it to the right of his hand. So he's now at 9 cards, at least this seems to be correct. And then we are already pretty much good to go. As usual, I will explain you everything as we go. The game itself is really not complicated, which is something I kind of enjoy these last couple of months, actually, not getting too fiddly in respect to those rules. But yeah, let's simply get started. The first thing that you do in any given round, or when it's your turn, is you're doing the victory phase. You have two ways on how to win this game. It's either a colonist victory, which means that at the start of your turn, so pretty much what we're doing here right now, there are no colonists here on your, I think, Imperium board or whatever it is called. And really the component quality is outstanding in this game. It's a very small game. It was a Kickstarter, obviously. But again, the component quality is amazing, and I will show you why in a second. It's not just this board with this has this two levels of things which I always like. But again, if this is empty at the start of my turn, I immediately win the game. The other possibility to win this game is through an economic victory. So I have to have 20 coins or more, and I have to have more than all the other players, not together but individually compared, obviously. And this is where this game truly shines. We are having those awesome metal coins, and they're really outstanding. Again, they're only victory point trackers, so you're not really using those coins for anything else in this game, but really looking so incredibly nice. Obviously, we haven't achieved either of those, so we can simply skip the victory phase. So we are moving over into the colonized phase, which says move one colonist onto each friendly fort. Right now, we only have one friendly fort. That's our starting fort, though let's simply grab one of our colonists and place it up here in one of those spaces. And you always have to start from the bottom and work your way up, because you can unlock also some more special abilities like reroll ability, rolling an extra die. And yeah, the last stage here, obviously, when it's empty, means you have won the game. But again, if I would have achieved this right now, let's say this would have been my last meeple up there, I wouldn't have won because victory check was already over. So I would have to make it to the start of my next turn in order to really claim my victory. Okay, and then we're moving into the action phase. And here we have exactly three options, and we have to choose one of those. We can either draw 3 cards, and we have to give one of those to the opponent, in this case the Ghost Captain. Not sure if I want to do that right now. We can simply build stuff, build one fort, one building, or a ship. Depends a little bit if I have enough colonists out there, or I can attack, sending my ship out. Right now, I don't know if I should attack. I'm really tempted to go for the first option here, simply to give me some more options during my next turn. And I'm pretty sure I know what the Ghost Captain is about to do. So I think I'm not really losing anything right now. And I think attack right now, I'm not rolling any extra dice. Yeah, I could gain some extra stones, but I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing or not. So I think let's simply draw 3 cards. And again, out of these 3, I have to send one to the Ghost Captain. Here we have another fort, the Steep Walled Stronghold. Whenever an opponent attacks this fort and rerolls, they must reroll all the dice. That's not bad, actually. Here we have another ship, the Dominica. And yeah, these symbols here mean they trigger typically during an attack. Return 1 colonist from the defending fort. Oh, that's actually very nice. And it also comes with 5 victory points. Those coins are the victory points. And last but not least, oh, we have yet another fort, the Flotilla Outpost. Whenever an opponent attacks another one of your forts, they roll 1 fewer die. So I have to give one of those cards to the AI player. And this is not bad, actually. This is really not bad. I think we are going with this fort, so we are sending this to the Ghost Captain. We are putting those cards into our hand. That's already the end of our turn. And then it's the Ghost Captain. We do the same victory point check. Obviously, we have just started the game, though it's not going to happen. We are doing the colonist stage, which means they are moving one of their colonists up there to their starting fort. Again, if they would have a second fort already, they would also send another meeple up there. So building more forts can significantly increase the relocation of the colonists, which is again one of your victory point conditions. Then the Ghost Captain is about to take his action. And here it's even easier, because out of those 3 actions, he will only go for build or attack. Typically, he will try to build first, and he will also typically not build a fort unless he's able to place all the stones out there. And right now, that's very unlikely. But they're going to build a village or a building, they're going to build a ship if they can do so. And I think in this case, he is able to build a building in this case. Again, he could go for this fort, but as he will not be able to place all the stones on those forts, he's not going to do so. In this case, we can see, okay, hey, he's having 2 buildings which he will be allowed to build. And the building cost for those buildings is in the top left corner of that thing. This means, hey, you have to move that many meeples from the fort to this building when you build this. And right now, that's true for those. And in this case, they're using the so-called bound to sea rule. When faced with a decision to choose among cards or cubes that differ in position, he will always choose the option closest to the sea, furthest from where you are sitting. I'm sitting on the right side of the table, which means he will go for the left side of the table. And in this case, the Ghost Captain is going for the ship maker here. You may build ships with 1 fewer colonist than shown on the card. That's pretty amazing, actually. But anyway, we are now taking this building and we'll build this behind the fort. So this fort is now protecting this building from everything that comes from the sea. So if we later attack this fort, we will place our ship in here, and then we are trying to bombard the fort accordingly. A fort can have any number of buildings attached to it, but whenever the fort is gone, there are the buildings behind it. So that's why you maybe want to spread things out, but sometimes you have reasons to keep things together. Really depends a little bit, because there are really a ton of special abilities on those forts, on those buildings, on those ships, you name it. Later on, there are the captains again, so really a lot going on in this case. In order to be allowed now to build this building, we have to move 1 meeple or 1 colonist from that fort to that building here. Now this thing is built. This also means he has scored his very first victory point here. Again, it's looking gorgeous. And now the special ability is live too, but I tend to forget those 2 for me and for everyone. So bear with me here, really try to remember. You may build ships with 1 fewer colonists than shown on the card, which will get important sooner than later, because he has a couple of ships out there. So and ships really come with a ton of victory points. But that's already the end of his turn as well. We are moving back to us. I think it's safe to say we don't have to do the victory point check, so we are moving right into the colony step. So we are moving this meeple up there into our starting fort, and then we are already choosing our action. And right now I'm kind of tempted to build the next fort here, because of the next round it means we are moving more colonists to our forts. And when I want to build a building next round, potentially this building could also help me to upgrade this fort, because this is one of the things that I may have forgotten to explain, as it didn't apply. This building here also comes with a black stone. What this means is, if the fort would have been damaged now, let's say 1 stone would have been missing on this fort because of a previous attack or whatnot, then the AI would now take 1 black stone from the supply and would be allowed to place it onto the fort, pretty much repairing the fort. That's kind of the only way how you can really repair those forts, as far as I know. So that's the reason why I'm not so excited building this armory. It comes with an awesome ability, don't get me wrong, but I would miss out on this stone here. On the other hand, if I would go for this fort, this would actually mean I could actually do something with it. The problem now with this fort here is the amount of stones, or the different types of stones I have. So this fort comes with a gray stone, that's this flag here. When I build it, I get a gray stone for free from the supply. And then I can take additional stones from my personal supply and add it to this fort too. And typically you really want to make sure that you have like colored stones next to each other. And I don't have those, so I'm really not building the strongest fort, but I still think it might be beneficial to do so. So yeah, we are simply going for this steep walled stronghold. We are building it right next to our existing fort. Doesn't really matter where it goes. Again, as mentioned, we are getting 1 stone for free from the reserve. And the reserve is limited, by the way, to 5 stones each. We are not playing with the pink material here, which is this soft kind of stone, which they use in some of the forts out there. But again, I try to stick to the standard game as much as possible. But again, we are getting one of those gray stones for free, place it into the steep walled stronghold, and now I can take my stones. And keep in mind, I have 2 stones. As part of setup we are getting those, and the amount of stones will also dictate how many extra victory points I will get. So for each stone I'm placing now here, I will also not only make the fort stronger, but also getting some victory points. So I think I will place this white stone here, the black stone goes in here, because I do have a plan, at least to some extent. And because I placed 2 of my stones from the supply, I will also get 2 victory points. Hooray! Back to the Ghost Captain, and yeah, again, we are not doing the victory point check. We know he's not one. He's moving one of his colonists up there, and then we are already moving back into the action. In theory, he would go for the ship here because it says you get it for a discount. The problem is the second meeple, or that we are basically placed onto the ship maker the round before, does not count for the fort. And in order to build a ship, you have to take the amount of meeples that are printed on there and move it from one fort of your choosing. In this case, unfortunately, only has 1 colonist in a fort here, so he's not going to place or build this ship here, which is definitely a very powerful way and a good way getting a lot of victory points actually. So in this case, we are going from left to right, and here I think I actually missed that. He is able to build the forts, right? At least 1 fort here. This fort on the left comes with 4 stones. Again, he's getting 1 stone for free from the supply, and then he would need to build 3 extra stones. But that's not what the Ghost Captain is doing there. The rules specifically say he's only building a fort when he's able to fill all those spaces, pretty much to maximize the output in respect to victory point. But the outlying station here is something that only comes with 3 spaces in total. It also only can take 2 meeples here, but still he will be able to get some extra victory points. And we are going from left to right, keep that in mind. So I guess in this case he will totally go for the outlying station. We are also building it right next to his other starting fort. He gets a black stone from the supply, and then he will place his 2 stones from his supply onto the outlying station there. And again, typically you want to make sure that same colored cubes are next to each other because they keep protecting each other. It's basically building a stronger foundation or so. And again, we are not making any decisions for the Ghost Captain. It's really all written here. We will start with Bound to the Sea. If this doesn't apply, we will go with Greedy. And if this doesn't apply, we will go with the colors. The first slot or spot to go for is this leftmost here. Again, Bound to the Sea. Then we are checking when faced with this to choose among cards or cubes that differ in position that can't be resolved. Now we are not talking about positions anymore. So we will have to go for the colors. And here it says when faced with choosing a color, he always chooses them in this order: pink, black, white, gray. So we have the black first, then we are doing the same check here, we are going for the white. So in this case, he kind of intuitively made this fort a little bit stronger. How this works, I will explain when we are maybe sooner or later trying to attack this fort or one of those forts. But in this case, he made that call intuitively. If, let's say, for whatever reason, this starting plague stone would have been here, then he might have not made the most ideal decision. But that's, I guess, how you have to deal with the AI. AI is not always playing optimal, but typically a game should be optimized to balance these things out. And I think this is something that the designers here really, or the designer here, made sure of. But also, the Ghost Captain placed 2 stones from his supply, so he will also score 2 more victory points. So he's now at 3, but that again is already the end of the turn. Back to us, no victory point check, so we move into the colonized steps. So we are moving 1 colonist up here and 1 colonist up here. Now we have unlocked this space, which gives us a special ability during combat. We get an extra reroll for free in this case. Typically you get 1 reroll for free, and when this is empty of colonists, then you get a second reroll for free. And then you may get other rerolls from other ships and or captains later on in some of the expansions, but in this case that's already a good thing. So this might already make us maybe decide going for an attack, but I guess we can do basically both of these things. We can build the armory, which again would help us strengthening our fort up there, or we could build the ship, because right now we have already 3 colonists on our starting fort, so we can build the Raven for 4 coins. But in this case, I think let's make our fort a little bit stronger, because I do know he's going to attack us sooner or later. If he's running out of building options, then he's going to attack us. Apart from that, he will typically then try to build his imperium, his realm. Unless he really sees that I'm winning with a colonist victory. In this case, they will totally attack us, of course, to return some of those colonists up there. So I think in this case, let's build the armory. And again, we are building the armory next to our steep walled stronghold. We have to move one of our colonists down there. Now we get this special ability. We will get the victory point. It comes with a victory point. And because it also comes with a black stone, we get a black stone from the supply. We are placing it next to the existing one. Of course, I'm not getting a victory point for that, because it didn't come from my supply, but I made my stronghold here also a little bit stronger. And again, having like colored cubes next to each other is typically a good thing to have. But that's already the end of our turn. You really see this game is moving really quickly. Also something which I quite like. Back to the Ghost Captain. Didn't win, so we are moving meeples. One goes to the starting fort, one goes to the outlying station. Even though he did unlock that space, he's never going to reroll combat dice, and he will also always roll 4 dice, so this is also pretty much pointless for him. For him, only this topmost row counts, pretty much winning the game. Okay, I think in this case, he's going to build a ship because of the special ability. Oh, I see something. I told you I would forget something. When built, add the top card of the discard pile to your hand. Okay, wow. Okay, we are good. There is no discard pile yet. Okay, that's at least something. Was worried for a second. So I think in this case he can still build stuff. And right now he might go for the Triumph here because he can do so. And that's typically building those ships a very powerful thing to do. So yeah, let's do that. So we are building the ship. It goes pretty much somewhere next to your player board, or we can build it next to those forts. It doesn't really matter. You simply shouldn't forget. Typically, you have to move 3 of the colonists to the ship because of the special ability here of the shipmaker. We can move only 2, which is definitely insane. Not only has he just scored 4 more points, so we will give him a 5er and return 1. So he's at 7 points already out of 20. Keep that in mind. He's doing exceptionally well. And he also gains this special ability. Whenever you gain support stones, you may take stones of any color. And those support stones are typically I believe that's part of the second phase attack, if I recall that correctly. And then it's already back to us. Sorry that I'm not showing you any combats, but I think right now there are more valuable things to do. And I guess, yeah, we are moving our meeples up there. One goes to the starting fort, one goes to the steep walled stronghold. We have now unlocked this second row here, which means if we are going to attack, we would get an extra die. Basically the same amount that our Ghost Captain would roll. So typically you're not using this die here. That's your standard set of dice. And when you unlock this, or if you are the Ghost Captain, you get this darker colored one here. And then we have to do something. And I guess there is no reason not building a ship on our own, the Raven. We take 3 colonists from our starting fort, and we will also score 4 points for that. That's really insane. So we are also at 7 points. Hooray! So right now everything looks pretty much okay. The problem is, I know that the AI still can build at least 1 more village, and then he's going to start attacking me. Back to the Ghost Captain. Then we are moving 2 more meeples out. Again, he's not unlocking those special abilities there. But of course, he's going to build something. And I guess he will go for the gunpowder. I think this means gunpowder house, which is a very, very powerful ability during combat. Whenever you attack at one of those, I think it's a second wave kind of attack symbol to your result, which is devastating, which really can be devastating. And I guess he's going to build that now. Again, we are going for the bound to the sea rule, so it's that's farthest away from us, which is here the fort on the left hand side. We are moving one meeple over here to the gunpowder house. It again would come with a black cube, but yeah, it's not damaged in any way, so we are simply placing one more coin into his victory point pile. Then he's already at 8, but he's also doing exceptionally well in respect to those colonists here, because yeah, 3 more and he would win. The thing is, right now his forts are pretty much blocked, so I guess we might be in a somewhat better shape, but again, he will start to attack us, and with this gunpowder house he's most likely to do some damage to our fort, or maybe even will destroy it. Okie dokie, let's move to the next round. We are moving 2 of our meeples up there, which means we only have 1 more left. The thing is, if I would have now a 3rd fort in here, I would win the game, but then I know he would definitely attack us next round, or with his next action, which he's most likely going to do anyway, I believe. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, we still have to bring this guy out and then have to survive another round, so it's not very likely that it will stay this way, unless I'm somehow able to build some more buildings out there in order to repair maybe my fort if he's starting to attack this, for example. But okay, we only have 1 more card left, which is the Dominica. Right now I don't really have too many reasons to attack him, actually, because he will not be able to place that many guys or colonists into his forts. One of his forts is already full, keep that in mind. Of course, yeah, he will change that, but at the start of his round he's not going to colonize as efficiently. And I cannot build the Dominica here right now because I don't have enough colonists in one of my forts. I have 4 in total, but that doesn't count. They really have to come from 1 fort. In this case it has to be the starting fort, because here we can only ever have 3 spaces for colonists. As I'm also relatively sure I'm not going to kill or whatever win the next round or the round afterwards, I think let's draw 3 more cards. So we have another outpost, we have another building, the cannonsmith, and the watchtower. And I must say, I really like my new tablecloth. It really looks very nice, at least here on my small screen. Okay, the scout outpost is another fort. I think, not sure. Whenever an opponent builds a ship, building, or fort, they will score 1 fewer coin. Okay, that's not bad, actually. That's really not bad. The cannonsmith, whenever you attack, we're adding another black to your result. And this is basically on top of my armory here, for example. That's a pretty powerful thing. And here we have the watchtower. When built, destroy an opponent's ships. Your opponents cannot build ships. Well, that's a pretty tough one, actually. So I guess we are moving the scout outpost over, pretty much sending him all our crap, and we will hold on to those 2 cards. And that's already the end of our turn. And now we are coming to a phase where things are getting really interesting against this ghost captain here. So again, he didn't win, but he's moving 1 of his meeples up there. He cannot move any more because, again, this outlying station here is already fully occupied. So at least this may have brought us some time, unless he's really building an extra fort. As for the action, I think he's not going to build either, because again, he will only ever build forts if he is able to place those stones out there. Because let's say he would build this fort now out there with a gray stone for free. Yes, this would give him a hell of a lot of extra spaces for meeple for the future, but with 1 stone I'm most likely going to destroy this, and then he didn't win anything from that. On the other hand, I could really get stuff from that, which is also one of the reasons why I guess he's not going to do that, and I really quite like that, actually. So in this case, the only other option he has is to call for an attack. So he's now going after our poor little fort. So we're taking the ship and placing it opposite of one of our forts. He typically goes for the fort with a few stones, and in this case again we are pretty much going for the bound to sea. When faced with a decision to choose among cards or cube, he will always choose the option closest to the sea, furthest from where you are sitting. In this case, that's our starting fort, which is good and bad. Actually, of course, it's only our starting fort. It doesn't come with special abilities, but it's also the fort that could allow us to build the Dominica later on if we would be able to place more meeples into this. So something we have to keep in mind. And then we are finally rolling some dice. And again, as mentioned, he's always rolling all the 4 dice. We are doing that too right now, but in this case, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Let's not forget the gunpowder house. Whenever you attack, add one of those results to your result, actually. So that's definitely, so he will definitely do 1 damage for sure. And okay, that's a pretty nasty roll, obviously. Good thing is he will not reroll in any way. He will not use this leadership ability because right now he doesn't have anything with only 1 leadership. If he would have rolled 2 of those leadership ability, he will automatically destroy 1 of our ships. Pretty bad thing. We would, yeah, I think the ship, we are not losing the victory points on that ship here, but the meeples will go back to our Imperial board. And then we are pretty much assigning the damage. He has to call now for 1 particular color, and in this case he will go for the color that makes most of the damage, and in this case that's clearly 2 gray stones. And that's also important now, because let's say this would have been only 1 gray result. In this case he would not have been able to destroy 1 of those stones here, because they are tying together. So they are connected, and in order to destroy connected stones, you have to roll at least that amount of colors. In this case, those were 2 gray stones, so that's definitely something that, yeah, we have lost 2 stones on our fort. Right now, that's still kind of okay. And after this first wave attack, which we just dealt with, he's either going for reinforce or will go for a second wave attack. He will always go for a second wave attack if he can do so. And in this case, he automatically has 1 of those. So all those symbols will now trigger. He didn't roll any, but because of his gunpowder house, he has 1. And yeah, in this case, we again, I believe, will go with a bound to the sea rules, because that's typically what he starts from the top and goes to the bottom. And bound to the is something that is resolvable. That space is fast away from us, so he's removing that white stone here too. So we are left with 1 stone here, 1 more stone, and we would have been toast. But I think right now we are still in an okay shape. He doesn't get any extra victory points for that, and that's a good thing. He doesn't get any stones. So again, if he wouldn't have this symbol, he would go for the reinforce, which means every color he didn't use, he would now be able to put it into his personal supply. So something for you to get more powerful stones or important stones for building forts later on. But in this case, we were, I guess, kind of lucky, I would say.